So going to start this evening, tucking my trousers in, not that yogic. We're going to start this evening actually in cat-cow. And props-wise, I'm using one block. So as ever, these are strong classes, these core classes. Work at your own pace, follow your breath. If you find yourself gritting your teeth, holding your breath, or your eyes are watering, in a pose, that's time to move out and adapt or have a rest. Simple as that. Any sharp pain, same thing. Shouldn't be getting those, move away from that. And we'll allow ourselves to draw the chest forwards, roll the shoulders back and the tailbone to the sky. We'll tilt the pelvis to get that ripple through the spine. Stretch out the top of the shoulders, middle of the back. And then slowly take your breath back in as you move forwards. Now we all breathe at different rates, so the movement is going to be slower or faster person to person. Looking for a nice smooth transition and a feeling of getting in into the nooks and crannies. I'm sure that's a very technical explanation of what's happening, but you'll understand it as a feeling in your body, which is the important thing. Next time you start to press towards the sky, push into the hands, press your hips back into child's pose. Let the head come to the floor. Take a breath in to lift up, pressing into the shins a little bit and drawing the chest all the way forwards into the cow. Tilt the pelvis back into the cat, stretch and press back and sit back into the heels, elbows and heads on the ground. Use your breath in to come back up and forwards. A very simple vinyasa between cat, cow, and child's pose. Easy flowing motions. And we'll come down for the last time. Inhale back up, halting in a neutral spine. Tucking the toes over on the right foot. Slide the foot back. Allow ourselves to carry the right foot as far over to the left as we can. I'm going to move the left hand off to the side of the mat a little bit so I can lean my hips over towards the left side. Now try to keep the hip bones the same distance from the ends of the mat. So I'm not curling the spine out, keeping the spine really following the line of the mat. The hips are the same height to the floor from side to side. So there's a strong angle getting created between that bottom knee and the hip, which will be a very strong internal rotation. Bring ourselves back, slowly sliding the foot back and bring the knee down to the floor. Allow ourselves to tuck toes as the left, carry that over to the right. Again, we'll move the hand out to the side to facilitate moving across. We're pushing out through the back here, that's strong, keeping the hips square, drawing the tailbone to the end of the mat. Come back slowly to the center, bringing the knees to the floor and rearranging the hands. Tuck the toes of the right foot underneath and slide the foot back. Allow the left hand to come forwards, palm facing in line with the body. Draw the tummy muscles in. Allow yourself to slowly lift your right heel away from the ground. So the leg is in line with your body. Press away from the ground a little bit. We want to be lifted in this front shoulder rather than dropping down, sort of sinking into the joint. We're going to press away a little bit. And press into that bottom shin as well. Use the hands down to the floor. Bring the knee back, cross over to the opposite side, slide the leg back, hand comes through, we lift. Now bring the hands down, knees down. Lift the knees just a little off the floor. Start to press the hips towards the back of the mat, keeping the knees low. And then allow yourself to lift the hips up into your down dog. Walk the feet out to wherever you need to. That's your down dog. You've been stuck in a chair, looking over a desk all afternoon, you might want to wriggle out a little bit more. Likewise, depending on your energy levels, you might want to just stay, kind of relax a little bit more into the pose, kind of let the day disappear from your body and your mind. So work out what serves you best rather than just moving and working on the superficial muscle feelings. Try and work out a little bit deeper what your body needs, what works for you today. Now we're going to come up onto the tippy toes in our down dog and just take the slow walk of the feet towards the front of the mat, keeping the body on the tiptoes, the legs straight. As you walk throughwards, you'll change the stress through your shoulders and your wrists. You get to a point where you need to come up onto your fingertips, perhaps, unless you've got quite a lot of hypermobility in your body, or just very short legs and long arms. That's a possibility as well. Bring the hands onto the shins, let ourselves lift up halfway, and then let ourselves fall back down. Bring the hands onto the shins again, lift up halfway, fold our way down. And the shins to lift up. And slide ourselves back in. We'll bring the hands over the hips this time, shoulders and elbows back, soft knees and a flat back to lift. I'm going to take the left hand out to the side, wrap it around the body, and bring your hand onto the front side of your elbow joint. And then we're going to start to roll that right shoulder around whilst we're holding the palm against the crease of the elbow joint. The arm wrapped around behind us. And these are slow. They don't have to be quite in line with your breath, looking for range of movement. There's a little bit of resistance offered by the hand holding onto the elbow. And then we'll relax. And we'll just take the hands around the opposite way. Let's start to work on that left shoulder. And noticing how the texture of the shoulders feel. Are they running smooth? Do the muscles feel tight? Have you got the same range of motion in both shoulders? Not that we're going to do too much about the range of motion. We're just going to really use that as a little bit of information in our knowing our characteristics of our body. Let the hands release down. Have the feet a little wider than the shoulders. Just allow yourself to come into some gentle twists. You're going to tap the hand or the arm around the back of the kidney area. Want to bend the knees, allow the feet to move around a little bit. So the hips move from side to side. Kind of want loose legs and loose arms. Your choice whether you look forwards or the head to follow where your chest is pointing. Breathing long breaths in. Again, breath is not following the movement at this stage. And we'll slow down and let ourselves rest back into the center. We'll bring the feet back in, about hip distance apart on the center line of the mat. Allow yourself to take the hands high as you breathe in, keeping the ribs down. Bring the hands through your heart. Hinge at the hips, soften your knees and lengthen out. Bring the hands down to the floor. Taking a little breath, sending the right foot to the back of the mat into a deep lunge. So we're going to drop the hips a little bit if they're high, which you see sometimes in people. You want to soften into that front leg. Now the back leg to straight away, straighten onto the fingertips. Now we're going to press the right hand to the floor. I'm going to start to draw the left elbow up. Then I'll turn the chest. Then I'll extend the hand out. Then I'm going to try and roll the shoulder over towards the right side a little. And I'll bring the hand back down to the floor. Make sure that the left hand is on the ground. Start to draw the right elbow up, turning the chest. Extend the arm out. Take a breath. And on the exhale, try and roll the shoulder over a little bit more towards the left side. Keeping a long, straight back leg pressing out through the heels. Bring the hands to the floor. Take a little breath. Push off the toes of the back foot into a forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Allow yourself to lift. Take the hands high again. Bring them through the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Send the left foot to the back of the mat. Again, allow yourself to get that hip down. Play around and sliding the back foot away. And then planting the left hand, right elbow lifts, chest starts to follow, hand extends out. Take a breath and then roll your shoulder over to the left side. Bring the hand to the floor. Plant the ground. Right side. Left elbow lifts. Chest turns. The hand extends out. We take a breath. We'll try and roll that top shoulder around. It's got less space to go. Ribs and thighs connected, causing a little bit of cohesion there. Bring the hands back to the floor. Take a breath. Push off the back toes. And we're into that forward bend. Bring the hands to the hips. Soft knees. Let ourselves lift. Take the hands high again. Bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Weight's always in the toes. Take a breath. Send the right foot back into that lunge. Allow yourself to wriggle the back foot. Get that distance that you had in the previous lunge. Then drop your heel onto the center line. Bring your hands alongside your body. Bring your hips over the center line if they've moved out a little bit. Extend the right arm through and then lift your whole body up. Warrior two, we bring the hands high. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. Use the hands down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Use the next in-breath to travel forwards to plank. Let the knees come down where they come. Allow yourself to lift your feet off the ground and cross your ankles. Keep the hips high. Now bend the elbows back. Let your chest come to the floor. Shoulders away from the ears. You take a breath. Bring the feet back down to the ground and then slide them away as you bring your hips and your belly to the floor. Untucking the toes. Inhale into your low cobra and exhale back. Avoid pressing into the hands. Try to lengthen the legs away. Press the thighs a little into the ground. And if possible, roll the heels outwards. Just to make a little bit more space around the lower back and the glutes. Come up again. And then a final time. And this time we'll slide the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, elbows and shoulders back. Tuck the toes on an exhale, lift away from the floor. We're going to sit back onto those heels into that child's pose with the toes tucked under. Take a breath. Press the hands into the floor. Lift the knees gently away from the ground up into the down dog. Draw the right knee in and bring the hands, and bring the foot through towards the hand. Get there one day. Then we'll push off the back toes into that forward bend. And come onto the hips. Soft lift through a straight back. And we'll step into the front of the mat just to correct the distance that we travel back from. And take the hands high. Bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor again, just softening the knees as you need to. And take a breath. Send the left foot back. That wiggle. Get the hips down low, long. Drop the heel in. Turn the hips to the center line as you bring your body up a little bit. Flip the left arm forwards, and as you exhale, press through the front shin down to the floor to lift into your warrior two. Inhale the hands high and lengthen out slowly down to the floor. Step back into down dog again and adjust. There's a breath here. Take the breath in to the plank. Shoulders over the wrists, we let the knees drop. Across the ankles, lifting the toes. Keep the hips high, bend the elbows back as you exhale. Shoulders away from the ears, chest all the way down to the ground. Bring the feet to the floor, slide them back. And on the inhale, low cobra. And go untuck the toes, bootlaces into the ground, and elbows lightly pinched into the ribs. Come for 4. And 5. Hands to the bottom of the ribs and pin back. Tuck the toes under as you lift away from the floor. Back into your child version. Press the hands into the ground, fire up the arms. You're going to lift the knees away from the ground. Down dog. Take a breath in. Bring the left knee through, foot to line with hands. And then push off the back toes to a forward bend. Let's come onto the hips and lift up. Step again towards the front of the mat. Get hands high as we breathe in. Hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. Take a little breath. Send the right foot to the back of the mat. Get that long leg in. Allow yourself to drop the heel into the center line. Hands alongside the body. Right arm lengthens out. Slow lift on the exhale. Take the hands high. This time we're going to rotate the hips and the shoulders towards the front of the mat. Going to bend the back knee about halfway down to the floor and then hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use the hands down to the floor. Step back to your down dog and adjust. Take a breath and an exhale. Float into your plank. Push forwards on the exhale to half plank. Ribs and elbows touch. No thighs involved in this one. And then from up dog, rolling gently back into down dog. Use the exhale of your next breath to draw your knee in towards your chest. Lift onto your tiptoes as you take the breath in, then bring your foot through between your hands to the front of the mat. Into the lunge, we push off the toes of the back foot into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips, so as the lift. Inhale high, hands through the heart, and exhale down to the floor. Take a breath, left leg goes back. Drop the heel in, bring the hips to the center, hands alongside the body. Left arm extends out, try through legs to lift up. Take the next breath in with the hands high, rotate towards the front of the mat. Spin the back heel. Again, drop the back knee about halfway down. Doesn't have to be precise, just enough to feel the muscles starting to work. You'll know when you're there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hands to the floor. Back into down dog. One breath in, one breath out. Take a breath into your plank. Push forwards in the toes, half plank. Inhale for your up dog. Roll it back to down dog. Draw the knee to the chest on the inhale of your next breath. And on the exhale, bring the foot through into the lunge. Strong back leg still pressing out. Push off the toes. Forward bend. Hands over the hips. And we lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Sending the right foot back. Deep into the lunge. Dropping the heel in. Square the hips over the center line. Lift. Right arm drifts through and up. Now we're going to take the hands behind the back. Turn the chest as fully to the long side of the mat as we can. The hips will be still slightly diagonal. That's where we want them. We're going to start to lean into extended side angle. So you're going to bring your body over until you think your top of your body is matching the line of your back leg. Now actively press down into that foot at the back of the mat. Keep turning your chest, that long side of the mat. And draw your hands towards the rear foot. Release into warrior 2. Take the hands high. Rotate down to the floor. Stepping back into our dog. One breath in. One breath out. And forwards into plank. Use the exhale to come forwards. Keep the hips high. Turn the bootlaces down. Strong legs as you roll the shoulders back for your up dog. Bring the hips slowly to the sky for your down dog. Take a breath in. Use the exhale. Bring the knee towards you on the right. Lift up on the tippy toes as you breathe in. Use your exhale to bring your foot through to the lunge. Push off the back toes. Full forward bend. Hands on the hips. Soft knees, flat backs to lift. We'll come high again with the hands. And take that to the second side. Exhaling down and forwards. Taking the breath. Left foot back. Lunge. Drop the heel in. Square the hips over. Lift the body. Use the left hand forwards to lift into your warrior two. Let the hands come behind your back. Square your chest even more towards the long side of the mat. Bring the hands down behind you. Leaning out slowly, instinctively following the line of your body. And press your back foot down into the floor. Front leg's already loaded. So it's the back foot that we want to try and put some weight into. Draw the hands towards the back leg, the back foot specifically. Turn the chest constantly to that long side of the mat. Slowly lift back into warrior two. Use the hands high and down to the floor. Step back into our dog. Remember, one breath in, one breath out. Inhale to your plank. Use the exhale to come forwards for the half. Use the breath in to lift an up dog. Hips lift high. Down dog, we take the breath. Use the exhale to draw the knee on the left in towards us. Lift up on the tippy toes, breathe in. Use the next exhale to bring the foot through. Press off the back toes on your exhale when it's ready into your forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Right foot to the back of the mat. Dropping the heel into the center line, squaring the hips over. Hands alongside the body to a little partial lift. Right arm travels forwards and we lift up. Taking the hands behind the back again. And this time we'll turn the hips and the chest towards the front of the mat. Start to extend out for humble warrior. So we're going to lean onto that front thigh, just making sure your knee is over your heel and not forwards. And then begin to lift your hands towards the ceiling. And then slide your body on the inside of your thigh. Let your eyes wander along the mat towards your rear foot. Squeeze your hips over to the right side a little more. And slowly lift all the way back up. And open up into warrior two. Take the hands high. Rotate shoulders and hips to the front of the mat. Bring the hands alongside your body. As you lean in, we're just going to step through and use the arms for a little bit of inertia to help step into the front of the mat. Hands are high. Bring them through your heart. And exhale down to the ground. This time, left leg goes back and we drop the heel in. Bring the hands alongside. Partial lift. Extend the left hand out. Draw ourselves up. Use the hands behind. Rotate the hips and the shoulders towards the front. Extend out as you exhale. Inhale the hands to the sky. And then use your exhale So release and fold down. Let the eyes travel slowly along the mat. And then bring your hips a little more over towards the left side. We'll release our way back up into Warrior Two. Take the hands high. Rotate towards the front of the mat. Spin the heel. Find that balance point. Bring the hands alongside the body as you lean in. And then use legs and arms to bring ourselves forwards. Hands come high. We'll take a little back bend as we're here. Bring hands in towards the heart. Allow ourselves to exhale down to the floor. Bring hands onto the hips. Allow ourselves to lift up. Let's step back about midway down the mat. You can allow the feet to be hip distance apart, but importantly, parallel to each other. You can take the hands out in front. Pull the shoulders back a little bit. Try and keep hands out, palms facing down. Lift onto the tippy toes. Allow yourself to start to bend the knees. So toes point forwards, knees go forwards. They stay the same distance apart throughout. We try and keep the body as upright as we can. Come down nice and slow over several breaths. And we just want to come down to the point where we think our thighs are parallel to the ground. Hold there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping the heels off the ground, we lift up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring the heels down. And relax. Breathe in long, slow breaths. Big muscles, a lot of oxygen. And the hands float out again. Allow yourself to lift onto your tiptoes. Slowly come down. Now it's better to be high than too low. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lifting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heels down. Rest. Hands come out again. Tiptoes to lift. Find your balance. Ease your way down. Several breaths. Find your point to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lift. 2, 3, 4, 5. Heels down. Rest. Shake it out. Walk into the front of your mat. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Stepping back to down dog. We'll take one plank vinyasa to half plank up dog. Come back into down dog. Bring the toes together on the center line of the mat. Draw the left knee to the outside of the left wrist. Bring the heel to line with the center line. Walking the right foot back, bringing the heel towards the groin or just above the pubic bone. You can try and square the hips towards the front of the mat. Lengthen out through the long leg. So it feels like you're pressing your shin to the ground a little. The tummy's drawn in. And you're going to try and turn your tailbone towards the ground. Shoulders nice and broad. Spine lifting out of the pelvis. I'm going to tuck the toe on the back foot, draw the tummy muscles in, lift the hips, gently back to your down dog, and realign the feet on the center line of that mat. Take a breath in and draw the right knee to the outside, right wrist. You're following the line of the mat, and then walking the left foot as far as you comfortably can. Shoulders are broad, chest lifts, tailbone turns down. We square the hips a little and press out through the back leg. So all those, I guess you could call them micro movements. We're looking towards alignment and uniformity in some of these poses, and this is one that we're taking that opportunity in. The more you're able to press down through the tailbone, back leg, and lengthen through the spine, the less weight you're taking into the wrists. And we'll tuck the toes again on the back foot. Lift the hips on the exhale into a down dog. Stretch the legs out a little bit, and then bring the knees down to the floor. We'll pivot the feet out to the side you choose. We'll take the block behind and allow ourselves to sit. Just shake out the wrists a little bit. And then come into Dandasana. So your toes come back, roll the thighs inwards a little bit. Sitting bones press down, hands are by the side of the body. Now, if you've got a short body and long arms, your elbows are going to be bent a little bit back. We're going to try and keep the front of your chest nice and open. If you've got long body and short arms, you may not even be able to reach the floor. You're somewhere in between. You might have more or less the right length arms to touch your fingers to the ground. And try to get used to the idea of actually lengthening the front of your thighs, the hip flexors, these muscles up here towards your toes, even though you're flexing your toes towards you. Able to roll those thighs in just a little bit. Flex the big toe back. Spread the other toes out. Okay, we're going to release. We're going to roll to whichever side you like and then extract your block from your bottom. And allow yourself to take your hands behind, about shoulder distance apart. Now, it really is up to you whether you have your fingers pointing forward, sideways, or backwards, as long as it feels easy on your shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Now, roll the shoulders back a little bit, start to lift the chest, draw the tummy muscles in, and begin to point the toes forwards and roll the thighs in towards each other again. And then on the exhale, we'll slowly lift the hips up to reverse tabletop. And trying to get to the point where you can lift the hips high enough and the legs can be straight and the toes touch the ground. Hasn't yet happened in my body. Still waiting for that day. Put the chin in towards the chest. Take 2 more breaths. And then ease the hips gradually down to the floor. We'll sit back upright. Take the hands out wide. Still rolling the thighs inwards, bring the toes towards us. We bring the hands directly above the shoulders, palms facing in. Then we can let the hands come down again. Bring them behind again as we had before. Point the 4 toes forwards. Roll the thighs in, lift the chest and the shoulders. And then on your exhale, lengthen. Time. You can try and lengthen the head back to follow the line of your body, avoiding dropping it further. Take 2 more breaths. And then ease our way back down. As we sit tall, roll the thighs in again, and hands above your head. Ease the hands down to the ground. We'll take the infamous block and just draw that behind. Let ourselves lift up. Take a little breath there. Now we're going to draw the left foot in towards the body. And you want to try and bring your foot in so that your heel lines up with your sitting bone, so your knee doesn't hang out to the side so much. You can kind of bring it more into the center. And then just wrap your arm around the leg. If your knee is too far away and your shin is too far away, use your hands. And allow yourself to point the toes of the right foot. Try and sit as tall as you can. And on the exhale, see if you can lift your foot 2 inches off the ground. On the inhale, ease it back down to the floor. Exhale, lift. Inhale on the way down. Three. Turns to 4. Turns to 5. Brings it down. Swap over to the other leg. Set ourselves up. Sit nice and tall. Point the toes forwards. Take a breath in. Exhale to lift. Inhale to come down. Exhale to lift. Try not to lean back. Point the toes out. Heel down. 3. Spread the toes a little bit. 4. And 5. Perfect. Take the legs out, cross the ankles over. Draw the heels towards you. Now roll onto the knees. Turn the block from landscape to portrait. Bring the knees together. Take the feet out wide. And as you sit back, allow yourself to bring that block underneath your sitting bones. So we come into hero's pose. Again, the thighs are rolling in a little bit. Slowly lift up. Press into the shins and move the block out to the side. Take hands forward to the front of the mat, put the toes underneath, into down dog. Feel that hip distance apart. So, some down dog crunches. You take the left knee in towards the chest. And take a breath in and take your knee to the outside of your left elbow. So left knee, left elbow coming forwards. Into your down dog and keep the knee in towards your body. And then bring your knee through the center. And see if you can bring your knees and nose to touch. Into your down dog, keeping the knee still in towards your body. And then we take it over towards the right. Little twist. And then we come back into dog and we bring the foot down. Draw the right knee in. Come forwards into the plank. Knee and elbow touch. Use your exhale into your down dog. Come forward. Breath in. Use the exhale to squeeze the knee towards the nose. Round in the spine and back into your dog. Breath. Use your exhale to come forward. Tap to the left. Bring yourself back. Foot to the floor. Draw the left knee in. Come forward to the left. To the dog. Through the center. Knee to nose. To the dog. The right elbow. Back to dog. Foot to floor. Right knee comes in. To the right elbow. Back. Through the center. Knee and nose challenge. Back to dog. Over to the left. And back to dog. Knees to the floor. Whew. Take a little breath. Bring your elbows to the ground. Now you want your elbows to be about shoulder distance apart, and then bring your shoulders as close as you think you can over the top of your elbows. Make sure that you've rolled your shoulders back away from your ears. Tuck your little finger underneath to look after it. And then take one foot to one corner, one foot to the other corner so they're wider than your shoulders. Allow your hips to sink down a little bit. And then press your forearms into the ground. Round your upper back a little bit so you're lifting your body away from the floor. Try and keep your hips in line. Press out through the heels. Wide leg elbow plank. And we'll let the knees come to the ground. Back into child's pose. Put hands towards the toes. Bring hands forwards. Let ourselves lift up onto all fours. I'm going to come down onto the left elbow and onto the sides of our body. Now, once again, bring your elbow underneath your shoulder, and rather than collapse into the shoulder, you want to keep it lifted. We're actually going to bend the knees, allow ourselves to have the feet sort of in line with our tailbone. You can take a little breath, keeping the knees and the shins attached to the floor. Bring your right hand onto your hip. Allow yourself to lift your hips up away from the ground. So just pivoting on your knee and your shin. We'll take the right hand to the sky on a breath in. We're going to fold that under and try and tap the floor to the outside of the mat behind us. Inhale up and fold it around again. Tap. Inhale high. Fold it under. Tap. Okay. And last one. And bring the hips down to the ground. Bring the knees towards you. Assuming that you need to change ends so you can see the screen easily, but you could just roll over if your screen's positioned fortunately enough for you to do that. Then set the legs up. Remember to bend in the knees, shoulders away, hands come onto the hips, and take a breath. We lift the hips away from the floor as high as we can. Then take left hand up high. Breath in, fold it underneath. All the way to the opposite side of the mat. Inhale up. Got some nice clicks in the spine there. Or the other side. Number 3. Keep the body lifted. 4. 5. And 6. And ease the hips down to the floor. Allow yourself to lift gently. We're going to come towards the front end of the mat, chest down onto the floor. Wriggle out the hips a little bit. Take an opportunity for the last time this evening to work into those back muscles. So we're going to bend the right knee and take the hand back towards the ankle bone. Going to do the same with the left leg. Take the hand back. Going to come into a bow pose. So first thing I'm going to do is flex the feet so you can get a nice strong connection. Body's a bit sweaty, so hold on tight. Press the hips into the floor, the thighs and the knees towards the end of the mat. Take a breath. As you exhale, press your shins towards the back of the mat. Take another breath and press the soles of your feet towards the sky. Keep the body long. Try to lengthen out of the pelvis. One more breath. And back down to the floor. Release the feet. Bring the hands underneath the chin. Roll out from side to side. So we're going to let ourselves rotate the body over onto our spine. So keeping the head the same end of the mat. We'll ease the heels in towards the bottom on a center line and take the hands out to where it feels like they're in line with the chest rather than the shoulders. Just relax the shoulders underneath. Allow yourself to shimmy the hips over towards your right side. And let the legs roll to the left. Do your best to keep the shoulders on the ground and allow this pose to be very passive, so to where you can release and let go. Allow your breath to highlight where you're holding on in your body. And then see if you can connect your mind to release that part. We can lift the legs back up. Move the hips over towards the opposite side and let the legs drop down. Final right side twist. And let the legs lift. We'll bring ourselves into Shavasana. So using the heels along the floor. No, it's not easy. I'm sticking back as you can. One leg at a time out to the corners. So let the legs roll open. Bring the hands by the side of your body about a ruler's distance. Find a little wriggle and lengthen through the body. Open your jaw, maybe licking the lips as you close your eyes. And starting to just ease your way into your breath, letting it flow naturally, letting your heart follow, and your mind beginning to still. And now just to breathe a little deeper and begin to wriggle your fingers and toes. And allow the wrists and ankles to begin to move gently. Connecting the breath, the nervous system, and the mind. When you feel ready, allow yourself to take a longer breath and stretch in any way that feels good to you. And then when you're ready, you can slide your heels towards you. Allow the knees to come in towards your body one leg at a time. So you're just going to take the hands either around the shins or on top of the knees. Very loose, easy hug We don't want to be working the nostrils again, so we're just treating them with softness and respect. Trying to stay in that relaxed, sensory zone that we achieve through Shavasana. Roll gently on to our right side. Legs still drawn in towards the body. And then as you begin to exhale, roll your chest towards the ground. Use your hands to move smoothly back up to sitting. There was an easy posture for you to take your final bow. Bring the hands in towards your heart as you close your eyes, taking a longer breath. Beginning to exhale slowly, allow the belly to draw to the spine, chin to chest. Seal your practice with a simple bow. And inhale, allow the chest to lift, eyes open. Namaste. Thanks for joining me on this Friday evening. Hope you enjoyed, and see you on the mat again soon.